This is my presentation on Experiment 1, the scientific method for Chemistry 100 of Spring Semester 2025. So the materials used were 2 pennies. As you can see, the shinier penny was made in 1981. The other one was in 1999. They both have relatively no dirt on them, and we used the shinier penny for the single flips and both of them for the double stacked flips. So my hypothesis for the first one with just using 1 penny was I thought that whatever side the penny starts on before you flip it off of your hand would be the side that it lands on. And my hypothesis for both pennies would be that more times than not, both pennies are going to land facing the exact same side than not facing the exact same side. So the constants were I was using the same pennies for throughout the whole experiment, and I was sitting down when I was flipping these pennies. I never stood up for how many times, and some of the variables were how many times the pennies got flipped and where the pennies would land, whether it would be in my hand, on my computer, or on the floor. So here's my data. The data on the left represents data from the flipping of just 1 time. As you can see, it was 50-50 between heads and tails. This data did not show my hypothesis for that. Sometimes when I would flip the penny, it would start off on heads and then it would go to tails, or it would start on tails and flip to heads. So my hypothesis was not correct. And then over on the right, that set of data is when I did the stacked flips. As you can see, my hypothesis was correct with only two incidences of having both pennies not being on the same side. So my observations were it was easier to catch 1 penny in my hand and not let it bounce around a lot on the floor compared to both pennies. I noticed that the air time from each flip was different for each penny, and the position of the pennies on my hand were slightly different every single time. So my conclusions were for my original hypothesis of when flipping a single coin, whatever side the coin is facing when placed on my hand, that will be the side that is up when after you flip it. It was proved to not be the case. Several times the coin did not match the side it started on, and yeah. For double coins, I thought that both pennies would land on the same side as each other more times than they would not land on the same side for each other. And I found this to be true for 2 out of the 5 times I flipped 2 pennies. Um, there was only one. There was only one time, like twice, I was flipped heads and one flipped tails. So one error that I noticed with the was with the environment in which the pennies were being flipped. There's a lot of things in the way that could bounce or make it stop before it hits the actual ground and all of that. If they were to hit an obstacle, it might knock it up a little bit and change which side it was originally going to land on. And another error that I noticed was that when I was flipping the single coin, I was able to catch it with my hand to prevent it from hitting all these other obstacles and stuff. And this would also sometimes lead to the penny landing in the cracks between my fingers, making so that there was no clear side which was up. So I had to redo the flip in order to get that um, result. And for an improvement, I would say one improvement could be having an area just for the pennies to land on, like a table or another flat surface with no other things on it, like desk objects or whatever. Just having a clear space for these pennies to land. I think it would limit the chance of the penny bouncing off objects and obstructing the data. So the question that we were asked was, were the results from flipping 1 penny different or the same as flipping from the stacked ones? And I said that it was different. Um, my results for flipping 1 penny were different from the stack. When I was flipping 1 penny, the results were pretty even, 5 heads, 5 tails. While This is not the case for flipping the stack. For the stack, I found that more times than not, the pennies landed both on tails, with only 2 times one penny was landing on heads. Um, yeah, that is it. Thank you.